What's up, brewskis? My name is Marco Dupa. That guy right there, that's the great, the powerful. It's Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
What is up, y'all?
Tonight's brew, which I am still working on,
Slowly
if you're
pouring.
watching,
Yeah.
is the Bierstadt Slow Pour Pills. And Obi's going to tell you guys a little bit more about what is happening right here and and the cold read and all that jazz after the break.
Yeah.
What's on tap for tonight? Okay. The first thing I was in a scramble for a second trying to think of how I was gonna get into the Elon Musk Zuckerberg thing.
Yeah, nerd fight.
But yeah, just nerd fight. See, I wish that was cascading a little bit more, but I want
It's all right. I think we're doing good with the tools we have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't have a slow pour faucet. We're drinking out of cans, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't have the correct glassware. We know that. You don't have to tell us.
No, exactly. Don't you mind your f***ing business?
You
How about
probably
that?
should. You probably should.
You know what? Yeah.
Don't even listen.
Yeah, just go yourself. How about that? I cussed in the first 2 minutes.
I mean, that's the second F you threw on the show already. We're joking.
Well,
please stay.
freak.
Please stay.
Darn it.
Yeah.
Let's clink to these.
Okay.
And you know what? I'll go over the topics when we come back from the theme song, because I want to enjoy this.
Excited, yeah.
All right. This is episode 396 of the One Beer In podcast.
Lost to be found by someone to save you when you're down. Yes, I'm bored when it's bright out. So bored when it's bright out. 4 to 5 a.m. takes me to a place
You
where
okay?
I'm great.
Okay.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. You sure?
Fine. I'm fine.
Okay. As long as that's all you are.
Sure.
This is the One Beer In podcast, the podcast where two brews crack open a brew, and we see where that one brew takes us. I'm Marco Dupa, as I stated before, and that is Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
And these beers, this is fun. I was excited to do this. I was excited that you grabbed these.
I was excited for you to do it.
All right, so Obi, without further ado, tell the people what we're drinking tonight.
Oh, we have the slow pour pills from Bierstadt out of Denver, Colorado. And unfortunately, they don't have a cold read on the can itself, but they do have a cold read on their website. Slow pour pills goes as follows. Not everything in your life has to be in a damn hurry. Try our Northern German-inspired pills. It is strikingly pale, crisp, and bitter. It is softly malty, aromatic, and crushable. Really, this beer is the reason we brew anything. We take 30 hours to make this on the brew day, and then we lager it until anyone with any normal sense of perspective would say, enough already. If you're at the bar and it takes a little longer than normal, go with it. It's called slow pour for a reason. If it gets to you without the head above the rim of the glass, we have failed you.
Yeah. See, and that's what I was, that billowing. That's what I was trying to.
Well,
achieve.
I will say I was able to get these locally. If you're local from a la carte,
A la carte.
and they have the official
Shout out to Paul at a la carte.
Bierstadt. Yes, of course. But they have the official Bierstadt glasses, and I was poured a perfect pour.
Yeah.
Like I could have sworn it was had whipped cream on top.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was.
When you do it right, man, and that's why I was so excited about this, because at Red Light, whenever we have a pilsner that I can kind of slow pour, I do it every time.
Yeah.
Even when we're not technically doing slow pours,
Sure.
Selling to the public, I do them because it's so much fun. Changes the texture of the beer, changes the flavor of the beer, and also it just looks so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And pretty. It's like this really nice presentation. It makes you think of like a beer being poured from the 50s or something.
Sure.
There's this weird nostalgic look to it.
Which is exactly what they're going for with their marketing on it, you know?
Yeah.
It looks very classic. It's a very 1920s Great Gatsby-esque.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's if you can find it on tap somewhere near you, I highly recommend it. We're not getting to the review yet,
Nope.
but I'm just saying if you do find it on tap, it's worth the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's on tap and what we're going to just dive right into. We got Musk versus Zuck.
Yeah.
I know everybody has seen the potential cage fight between two of the richest men in the world.
We do live in the most dumb timeline, don't we?
It's insane, man. It's insane.
Yeah.
I know this is something that we agreed to talk about, but also the submarine stuff.
Okay.
Now, I'm not throwing this in as a topic.
Sure,
But
yeah.
when thinking about the timeline that we are
Oh,
in.
yeah. Including that in the
Yes.
current events.
It's just an insane thing that continues to dominate the news cycle for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's over. Like
It's over.
Yeah,
They're dead.
We know what happened.
They're dead.
We know what happened, and
Yeah.
they're gone. Yeah.
They're picking up debris out of the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's like
Front page news.
Front page news.
Yeah. I
Like
don't know.
they found quote unquote human remains, right? They weren't sure if it was human. They were like, it might be human.
Sure.
It's like, I don't care.
Right. What do you think happened? Like, they died.
They died. It's
It doesn't
over.
matter if they found human remains or not. They're dead.
Who cares? It's
Yeah,
done.
right,
What
right.
are we still talking about this for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, in
okay.
more relevant news,
Let it go. Let it go. Vent it out. Okay. Yeah.
I watched MILF Manor.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, the first two episodes.
yeah.
And
Didn't you, just an episode ago or so, say we'll never talk about reality TV?
I did say that
On this show?
I did say that. Well, you know what? Then we don't have to talk about it. I am nothing if not. Well, I am.
Here's your crow, sir. Now eat.
Fine. We're gonna talk a little bit about reality TV.
Okay.
But not in the way that Sherry likes to talk about reality TV.
Adoringly?
In so much that is it is a blight on this earth. And I wish we could eradicate all of it.
Sure.
But since it still exists, and sometimes you walk into a bar and they're playing it and you have no choice but to get sucked into it, I've got opinions.
Okay.
And then
Finally, we have Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
16. Now that it's out. Talked about it a little bit last week. But now that you've played the demo, I have the game itself. A few hours into it. We can get a little bit more into it.
let's just start with that because that's fresh. I played it this morning.
Okay. Sure.
So what is in my brain is very fresh.
Okay, good. So, Final Fantasy 16 so far has been a pretty big success. People have been digging it. Good reviews. As I said last week, the demo was like a really good representation of what the game was going to be and got a lot of people really excited about it. Even people who weren't necessarily into Final Fantasy to begin with. Now that I have it, I am happy to say it's pretty good. It's a pretty good game.
Pretty good.
It's a pretty good game. But, I think it's a little dull for me just to talk about how much I liked it because I'm known to be the RPG guy between us,
Yep.
So I'm more curious. I'll get back to my opinion on the game outside of the demo.
We still want to hear it.
Yeah, I'll still talk about it, but I'm chomping at the bit here. To hear about you, sir, as someone who's not been into Final Fantasy since 7 back in the day.
I played 8 and a little of 10,
Okay.
and then that was it. After that,
Yeah. After
Nothing.
the PS2 era.
yeah,
You were gone.
I've not played. No, I've not played a single Final Fantasy game since.
Well,
PS2.
7 remake.
Well, 7 remake.
A
yeah.
bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm about 15 hours into it, so 15 to 20 hours. I mean, I played it. I just haven't finished it.
Yeah.
It's just driving me crazy,
Okay.
and it's still in there. It needs to be finished.
It does.
It does.
You should.
I'm gonna.
You
I'm
should.
gonna.
But yeah, that being said, you have definitely not. You've been a loud opponent of turn-based video
Yes.
games.
Yes.
Fortunately for Marco, Final Fantasy's turned into more of an action RPG over time. I'm curious because I have my own sort of hypothesis on how this is going. But I'm curious, my friend, what you, as somebody who's not much of an JRPG specifically person, thinks of Final Fantasy 16 after playing the demo.
Okay. There's a lot of hallmarks of JRPG games in it,
Yeah.
but I know that what Square has been trying to do, at least in the past couple of years, is kind of marriage Japanese styles with like more traditional American slasher, or not slasher, beat 'em ups. Slash and run and gun, slash and dash, hack and slash is what I was thinking of.
Hero
hack
action games. Yeah.
They've been trying to marry those two styles.
Western style RPGs.
Yeah. Especially starting with Final Fantasy VII Remake. You could see them attempting it. And I haven't played 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And I know that they
15,
did it.
Yeah, 15 started doing that too.
Yeah.
Probably, I think it started with 14.
Yeah. So 14 was before 7 Remake. So I guess they started with 14 and then on to 7 Remake and then 15. 16, man, oh man.
Yeah.
Buddy. It's literally playing, it's Devil May Cry meets Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The fighting system. And so here's the thing. Final Fantasy VII is one of my all-time favorite games ever made.
Sure.
The original. It's one of my favorite. It was the first game I got on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. I remember the ads. I remember seeing it on TV, and it was like the same cut that you see in the beginning of the game, where it flashes the train, then it flashes the factory, and it flashes back to the train, flashes the factory, and then it zooms out, and Cloud's sitting there with the Buster Sword and everything. That was the ad.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and I was like,
it looks real.
I was like, Dad! Dad! I need that now!
Yeah.
So, that has a place in my heart, Final Fantasy VII. I play the remake, and it just doesn't... My thing is now, when I think about it, I'm like, yo, either just stick with the turn-based style with updated graphics, or go whole hog with this new style. Because especially now that I've played this demo for 16, I'm like, yo, they got something with this right here. They got something with this shit right here.
Okay.
I mean, you're playing the game proper now, but there's a mode once you finish the story of the demo.
Yeah.
There's a mode.
It's like a 2-hour demo.
Yeah. And it's called Icon Challenge. And Icon is, I'm not even going to try to explain what that is in the...
If you're familiar with Final Fantasy, I'll do it for you. Don't worry.
Thank you.
If you're familiar with Final Fantasy, there are summons in the game. So I'm sorry, I have to push up my glasses.
There you
go. There are summons in the game where you can summon a godlike creature, right? Mm-hmm. So in Final Fantasy 16, they've lore-wise sort of switched it up and called those summons icons.
Yeah.
Which are now these like world-destroying like nukes of weapons that people, like very few people on the world, have the power to become.
Yeah.
So it's a little like what's it called, the anime with the giants that eat people, Attack on Titan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's a little like that.
If you've seen
a little
Attack
like
on
that.
Titan,
It's pretty similar to that.
There's also a Titan in
there is a Titan. Yeah, there's one of the icons is a Titan. Yeah,
and he kind of looks like
he does. Yeah.
So there's a mode called Icon Challenge, which is based later in the game, where you can kind of get a feel for what it would be like once you're like in the thick of the game, as opposed to in the beginning when you're learning everything.
Yeah.
And bro, I mean, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
The fluidity of the dodge parry system is like, I don't want to sound hyperbolic.
Tell him.
It's one of the best fight systems that I've played.
So satisfying.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And it's not just, I could see how the difficulty could, how it could curve and how it could still make sense with the cinematic dodge and the cinematic, like the pseudo quick time events that they have on there. When you play it in real time, because like in the demo, they just show you the cinematic dodges and the cinematic hits or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
in the game, in the course of the game, you will encounter that very short window of time where you can dodge something.
Mm-hmm.
You encounter that in game. So in the middle of fighting like all of these creatures and knights and all this shit, you've got these mini quick time events happening in the middle of it. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's crazy how I was like, immediately it felt, I guess I wish that the button mapping was a little different. Mm-hmm. O was always the dodge button. It's weird that it's R1.
R1, yeah.
But you get over that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because O is utilized for something else. Dash, actually. Dash and then a bunch of other shit. But anyway, that's I'm going down a weird, unnecessary. It is some of the most satisfying mechanics that I've played in a really long time.
Yeah. And those mechanics are all made by the guy who did Devil May Cry.
Which
so
makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yeah. So
the story is really, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy or any kind of like traditional anime, then I think you'll dig the story.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was kind of starting to take me out of it a little bit. It was a little melodramatic, and I was just kind of starting to. I was just like, man, fuck this cutscene, man. Let me get back to fucking.
Let me tell you, Sherry, mid game, as I was playing today, she goes, "This game's a little melodramatic." And I went, "Yeah, it is."
I mean, that's how they are.
Everyone's really upset about something.
They're all upset. Yeah. Everyone's so upset.
Yeah, she goes, "Like, are they all like this?"
Is this what you do?
Are any of them ever have any levity in them at all? I'm like, yeah, some of them a little bit,
of
but
levity, a little bit. There's scenes where there's like levity.
7 has levity,
Yeah, there's fun stuff to do in that.
But 16 is very stone-faced and dark and melodramatic. Very sad. Yeah.
It's just, I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but you'll know when you play it. Like, oh god, it's a little eye rolly, little cringy.
Yeah.
But the game itself is so satisfying to play. It's like, all right, I can look past that.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna buy the game.
Good.
Yeah, I am. I need to know what happens next. I need to know what happened with the 2 icons. I need to know where that one came from. I need answers, dog. I need answers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very good. Well, I'll tell you, as someone who's I don't know. I haven't seen how many hours I'm in, but I'm a substantial amount of hours. I'd say probably in the realm of 10-ish, maybe 12. I think the predominant thing for me that stands out more than anything is definitely the combat system, which is super satisfying. It's funny to say this, but almost to a fault, where anytime there is a breakup of the combat to a cinematic, like you were saying, and mind you, I'm a cinematic ass man. I'm a cinematic ass man. I love to sit there with gobsmacked with the controller in my hand and watch like a 20-minute cinematic. I'm a Kojima whore,
Oh yeah.
Like I'm into it. I love it. And let me tell you,
underrated. You people who complain about this shit, I don't get it. It's so much fun.
It's incredible. It's incredible what they're able to do, especially nowadays where so much of the cinematics are in game engine. Like it's crazy. But the sort of quality of those is top notch as well when it's like a major event. But at the same time, I think the game is so much fun to play that whenever they like relinquish control from me, especially in those like little interstitials where you're like doing a side mission and like have to talk to some droning NPC for a while, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So I end up like skipping a lot of that, which I normally don't do. I like to get as much lore as possible. But whenever I'm like, I get the idea of what's happening here, let me just skip through it, I'll just skip through it.
Yeah.
But like almost to a fault, I'm like, I just want to get back to fighting stuff.
It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it's great. And like I love the gameplay loop of like every time you have an encounter, you see the numbers tick up.
Yeah.
I've seen some reviewers like kind of knock that as like, oh, it kind of takes me out of it. I wish it was more cinematic where like, you didn't have that every single time. especially like during like major boss battles. It doesn't bother me.
No.
Like, I
It's
love
satisfying.
I love the so and so has been vanquished or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and because there's like traditional Final Fantasy things in the game you're like, and you're like, bro, that. Because I was thinking about this, and I was going to ask you about this. Well, I mean, I know the answer because I started playing it. I had this question before I played it,
Okay.
which was, if it wasn't called Final Fantasy 16, would you even know that it was a Final Fantasy game because it's so far removed from those things?
Yeah.
But when you play it, you're like, no, this is definitely a Final Fantasy
Which is,
game.
I don't understand the complaint from a vocal minority of people on the internet.
Yeah.
Saying that, this doesn't feel or look like Final Fantasy. No, it
No, it's
absolutely
silly.
does.
Silly.
Like, I mean, beyond like chocobos and stuff, like it all of the aesthetics are very Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Which is a unique thing. It's always a mashup of like, obviously this one's more leaning towards like medieval sort of high fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
But you still get a lot of the strange mashup of technology and magic and sort of Lord of the Rings-esque creatures and stuff.
Yeah.
And weird Japanese things that they throw in that out of left field that all come together to make it feel uniquely Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But I think the one of the better things that people haven't really talked about 16 is that not only aesthetically but like gameplay and style wise is it such an interesting sort of reach from Japanese developers to the West.
Yeah.
To be like, we see what you're doing over there. We're going to try to fiddle with that a little bit.
Yeah.
It almost in a way feels like an inverse like Ghost of Tsushima,
Right.
Where it's
right.
like, instead of Westerners trying to do a Japanese game, it's Japanese people doing a Western style game.
Yeah.
In their own way,
Yeah.
making it their own, which I just find really interesting, and it's really unique in a way. And, of course there's tons of cliches in it. A lot of it is pulled directly from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
Like like to a point where it's a little distracting at times.
It's almost
but
like it's a lot.
let me tell you, when you actually start playing the game, there's even more that you're like, what? You guys took that too? But it's even so, they still make it their own in a way. And I love the lore. I love the deep dive that you can do if you so choose. There in the main game, this isn't a spoiler, but in the main game, you can actually like speak to like a scholar essentially and read up more on lore if you're so inclined.
Well, when you brought up the thing where you can kind of pull up at any point in time what's going on.
Yeah, the active whatever.
Yeah, when I
lore
finally
thing.
got to get my hands on it and do it, I was like, oh, this is even better than the way you described. Like, it makes perfect. Because even, dog, I'm watching this cutscene, and then I finally get my hands on the game, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Who are these people? What is this? Why should I care about this thing? And so I read on the lore and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay.
It makes me wish, again, retroactively, that Kojima could have done that in all of the Metal Gear stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
been
that
like,
definitely would have helped.
What happened in Zanzibar again?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because they reference it like you were there. It's like, bro, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yes, please lore dump me.
I am just hanging on by a thread
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah.
Can we get back to me hiding in a locker?
We're going off vibes. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, no, I mean, so far I am loving it. In a strange way, I do miss the traditional RPG mechanics, the turn-based style.
Yeah.
And the deeper RPG mechanics of like having a team that you equip different things to, and like learning different magics and building your party in that way. But I've been able to realize that
Get over it.
kinda. I still miss those things, and I think I would like the game even more if it was more like that. But for what it is, it's doing what it does very well.
And doing what it does.
It does, and it does it very well. So yeah, I can't fault it for that. And there's still there's still plenty of games that have turn-based mechanics that I can go into.
Yeah. You got like 1,000 personas to play.
That's true. That's very true, and many more hopefully to come.
Yeah.
But
okay, what else are we playing right now?
well, I'm still in the end game of Tears of the Kingdom, so I'm creeping up to the end of that.
How do you just rotate through these games? Is that what you do?
Kind of.
I need to understand the psychology of playing multiple games at
Well, look,
once.
here's the deal, man.
Here's the deal, man.
So it's not even just games; it's media at large. I have to choose what I'm going to indulge in per day, right? So there's a strategy involved here. Okay, so far what I've done this past week, has been me first of all taking full focus on Killers of the Flower Moon, right?
Right.
So I solely focused the vast majority of my time on reading that book.
Yeah.
I finished it. Fantastic book. Love it. Great. You should read it too. So now that that's out of the way, I need to refill, much like an RPG, a new mechanic to, a new magic to acquire to max out. So I think I'm going to do, and I'm actually on the first couple of pages now of No Country for Old Men.
Right.
I feel like that's a nice, smooth transition into another like Western kind of book.
Okay.
Not by the same author. I'm trying to switch it up a little bit because I have 2 other books I need to read from the same author because I really enjoyed this book.
Yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon. So that's been my main focus. However, in the background, I've been playing solely Final Fantasy once I got it, and Tears of the Kingdom I've been playing since it came out. I say over the past month played more Tears of the Kingdom than anything else, any other media at all, just because it is my comfort food game.
Yeah.
So I've been slowly going through like the main story, but most of it's just been like kind of farting around and discovering stuff and building things and hanging out.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll feel so inclined to do a mission. So that's basically been it.
All right.
But I have, like I told you, I have Crisis Core Reunion or whatever, the remake of that, sitting in the back burner.
Just waiting to be played.
I just before I decided that Final Fantasy 16 was going to be awesome, I started the Yakuza 0 again. So look, there's too much to consume.
What's funny?
I'm only one man.
We're just men.
We're just innocent men.
We're just innocent men.
Normal men. What do you mean?
Just innocent men. We consume media very differently, and I think that that's very kind of indicative of our personalities.
Yeah, probably.
Because the way that it's just on a whim. It's like I woke up today and I was like, you know what, I'm going to play a video game today, or I'm going to catch up on a TV show today.
Yeah.
And there's no thought process behind like, what's my gut saying right now? Literally in the moment is like, am I going to play Jedi Survivor or am I going to catch up on a TV show?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is what I'm playing right now.
Jedi Survivor. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in deep now. I'm in deep.
I've seen you on PSN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's really, really good. It's really good. And I mean, I talked about it last week or the week before.
Got a mullet trophy.
Yeah. That was really funny.
Yeah.
Because he did the drop kick, and I was like, that was fucking sick as shit. And then I got a trophy for it, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
They built this game, the sequel, and like the way that they were able to do everything that they did in the first game and like improve on that stuff, and then kind of, take it to the next level. I'm like really, really impressed with this game, and I hope that they just make Jedi games forever. I will buy this game once every 2 years, if they just keep making these kinds of games. Set any Jedi with different abilities, because sometimes you play as other characters and stuff, and no spoilers, but like they're even more fun to play. So it's like the potential here is I don't want to say limitless, but it's up there.
Sure.
My only nitpick really of the game is that like it shows its age sometimes. I was talking to Steve, shout out to Steve, friend of the show, about this because he's a big, Jedi Survivor, Star Wars guy, and then we were talking about it, and he was saying that it's most likely because all these games are still built on the Unreal Engine 4.
Right.
And 5's not being utilized yet the way that these devs want to use it, right? So until they start shifting over to this new engine and building games out from the ground up using that, you're going to get all these hallmarks of older games.
Yeah. Things that could have lived on last gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you're playing Jedi Survivor, for instance, and say you go up to an NPC and you start talking to them, and what do? They just stand there stoically and they have this conversation, and no matter what they say or what they emote, they just stand there. And then once you're done with the conversation, they go back to this like relaxed state, and then you walk away, and it's just like it's little shit that better games have gotten around to immerse you more in the world of the game.
Yeah.
Because the second you have a conversation with somebody and you realize, oh, I'm playing a video game, it shocks you for a second. And like, it's a little bit of a whiplash where you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm playing a video game. Because you'll be running, fighting, cinematic will happen, you're like, this is fucking awesome. And then the second you got to talk to a character who's not in the main story, you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm playing a video game.
Yeah.
So it's little shit like that kind of takes you out of it, And also, I want to talk about this for 2 seconds.
Okay.
When are we going to figure out how to learn abilities in a sequel that doesn't have to do with losing your memory or any kind of like trope? Like, why I want a sequel to a game where the character is just as good as he was in the last game, and all the enemies are just stronger to compensate for how OP you are coming from the last game.
See, the issue with that is the same issue with like pro wrestling and Dragon Ball Z.
I cannot wait for this metaphor.
Where it's like, well, first of all, you have to have the chutzpah to believe that you're going to have a sequel. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two is more along the analogy I was trying to make, is that you have to make the big bad in your story, the main enemy, the big boss, threatening enough to seem like the ultimate bad.
Right.
Maybe you can tease something even worse, but ultimately it needs to be like, no, you're fighting the ultimate evil, the worst thing you could possibly fight against.
Yeah.
At least for your character. So if you are going up against like a lieutenant and you know that there's something out there stronger with certain abilities that you don't currently even know or haven't faced before, then it's going to feel like a half measure. It's going to feel like half a game. They're going to be like, why didn't you have me like level up until I could fight that person?
Yeah.
So that's what I think about that. I will say a game that kind of went around that entire issue, because I agree with you. I hate the whole like, the Castlevania thing of like, oh, you have all these awesome abilities, and then after the first 10 seconds, you're completely dog shit.
Yeah.
Again. Or even worse, you just start off with nothing. Or yeah, I mean like really any Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Nowadays. But actually, Tears of the Kingdom did a pretty good job of that. Whereas you don't have your same abilities as you did before, but you have an entire new like pantheon of abilities.
Yeah.
So instead of like being like you have to get your same stuff back and more, it's like no, we're not doing any of those old things anymore. We're doing new things.
Yeah.
Instead of that.
That's a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
Just don't even retread.
You can essentially do what you did before a different way through items, as opposed to having those abilities just like, on your thumb pad or whatever. But they eschew that entire trope, yeah, of just being like, no, we're going to do something completely different. We're going to set up the world differently, even though it's the same world technically. and make it a playground for you to explore for the first time all over again.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like in Jedi Survivor, for instance. He relearns certain force abilities where you're like, that's not even really an ability. That's just... There'll be times where... I mean, this isn't really a spoiler.
Don't make me learn a double jump.
No, you can double jump.
Thank
which
you.
is funny that you can do the double jump or the Jedi jump or whatever. But there's certain things that you can't... Like, okay, you can push and pull with the force.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to wait until later on. And I guess this is sort of a spoiler, but it's not like a story spoiler. To pull down and lift up with the force, right?
Okay.
So, say there's a door in your way that you know that you can break that barrier, pushing it or pulling it out of the way.
Yeah.
There are certain obstacles in your way that you encounter later on where it's like a door that you have to raise up as opposed to destroying by pushing or pulling it, right?
Okay.
So it's just like a big, like garage, like bay door.
Yeah.
And the way that you can lift it is by literally lifting it with the force. You're telling me that 20 hours into this game, I have to learn how to lift up
with the
instead
force,
of pushing?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know it sounds like a nitpick because it is, but it's ridiculous.
I mean, it takes you out of it.
There's no reason why a guy as talented and as attuned to the force as Cal Kestis is, has to relearn how to lift a door. It's it's like it's little shit like that that again takes you out and lets you know, oh, that's right, I'm playing a video game.
It's like when games like clearly you can jump over an item, but it won't let you.
Right. There's a lot of that in Survivor where I'm like, I can clearly make this jump. You just don't want me to do it this way. And it's like, just open the doors a little bit, you know? Place the barriers a little bit outside of, because what that does is it lets you create your own experience with the game. If I can get to this same obstacle in a way, and that's what makes Rockstar games so good.
Yeah.
For the most part. Sometimes they do this too, where it's like, you're going to do it the way we fucking want you to do it.
But when they blow up bridges so you can't go to the next island or whatever. Yeah.
But there's sometimes in games where you're like, I encountered this thing differently than, say, Obi encountered it, but we got to the same thing, which is really cool. My experience is different from your experience, but we still did the thing.
Yeah.
And the more you can give players the freedom to do that shit, the better, because it like immerses you in the game more.
Which I hate to be a broken record here, but Tears of the Kingdom is probably the best game at doing that for me that I've played so far. It is so open. There's so much freedom involved in how you play that game that like I found myself playing Final Fantasy being like, I wish I could just like, open up a little canopy and fly down to that place I need to get to, you know, or like climb this mountain, just with a stamina meter. Like the freedom in that game kind of ruins every other game for you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't know. It feels like right now you're choosing between massive, built out, open world games or games where they're like, it's an open world. Wink.
Yeah.
And you see it very quickly, because we've grown up playing these games, very quickly you can see the edges of the world. You know?
Yeah.
Like, how fast do you go, oh, I just can't do that thing. They don't want me to do that thing. Like, even in the Final Fantasy demo, like, they tell you exactly, like, there's this door you go through. It's like, all right, what about this door? Don't worry about that.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that.
Listen, you got to go through this door.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
You're going to your chambers. All right? You're not exploring this castle.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to do but go to bed.
Don't worry about it
sleep.
at all. I mean, even like the exploration for Final Fantasy 16 is like, the stuff you find isn't that substantial. So honestly, it's a game that it really incentivizes you just going down the path. Yeah. Which is okay. That's fine. If that's your expectation very early on, which is what, they make for you. Okay. It's an action game again. Like I said, to their credit, they made the combat so satisfying that doesn't bother me so much. It's like, funnel me right to the next boss. Let me go and kick his ass. Yeah. So, I mean, that's okay, but I do find myself missing some of the freedom that I've gotten used to with Zelda. Yeah. And maybe it's just me playing them back to back. That's kind of messing with me a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, no, I would love to see more like if they're gonna go open world, go truly open world.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, games that aren't still work. You know, like you play a game like Uncharted or something, where it's like this isn't an open world game.
Yeah,
like you're doing a thing, and it's still or like Last of Us.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like this is not really an open world. Like you can explore, you can look around.
The Last of Us 2 opened it up a bit. You know,
Yeah.
you can like go around the city a bit.
But it's still like you have a thing and you're doing the thing.
Yeah.
And those games still work, but don't try to trick me into believing that like I can do more than what I can do. Okay?
Sure.
Like it's not an open world. That's fine.
No.
But I'm not an idiot either.
Don't try to fool me.
Don't try to fool me. There's like
you're not
stuff in
gonna fool
Jedi
me.
Survivor where I'm like, dog. there's times where it's like I made that jump and then you die and it's like, no, fuck you. I made that jump.
You hit me with a wall
There was nothing
that I can't
there.
see.
I landed and I died anyway.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Let me just do this. Why are you stopping me?
I have the control.
All right. Let's switch gears. Not switch beers, although we do need more beer.
It's true.
All right.
Yummy, yummy.
Now you can watch as I attempt. Do you want to try it?
Sure. I'll. How about this? I try mine. You do yours.
Yeah.
That way
Okay. So
we can compare.
Here's the thing with the slow pour, right?
Okay.
When you have it on a Pilsner, or when you have it on like a regular beer faucet,
Sure.
and you have like a Pilsner glass, we will use a Kolsch glass or a Stange glass.
Which are explain for the folks at home.
So if you can imagine, you guys,
Not me. I know.
Yeah, no, you know.
Yeah,
I
I
know
know.
you know. This is for the folks.
Those guys.
It's
Yeah.
for the folks.
Yeah.
If you can imagine a very slender cylindrical glass, right? Very narrow.
Test tubey, if you will.
Test tube is yes, very
Yep.
good way to describe it. You've seen this glass 1,000 times. It's not the wide mouth shaker pints, and it's not the
Lager.
lager glasses or anything like that. So it's very specific to light Pilsner beer because you don't need. Pilsners are light, easy drinking beers for the most part. You don't need a wide mouth or something to kind of accentuate the aroma of the beer, right? So it's just like hit the glass, very, very just straightforward, like boom, beer taste, right? In these glasses, when you're pouring them, like at the bar, for instance, you have the faucet. The Pilsner's supposed to hit the glass. It's supposed to be a pretty hard pour. Mm-hmm. So
Hard but slow.
hard but slow.
So I like them.
So you
Sorry.
you
I love the ignoring, the complete ignoring. So anyway,
you want to pour hard but slow.
okay.
Build that head of foam, but obviously don't let it spill out of the
Sure,
glass. You're
sure,
gonna,
sure.
it'll probably hit about like here, like basically get that foam to the top of the beer,
Okay.
and then stop.
Okay.
Let it settle until you can get enough, until you can just keep pouring.
Uh-huh.
And what that'll do is that'll kind of smooth out the beer itself while also getting a harder head of foam.
Okay.
That's where you'll get that nice classic, almost whipped cream
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
So,
Which is hard to get obviously in a can.
yeah.
But if you have the faucet,
Well, it's the can, and it's also like the glass.
glass,
The
yeah,
glass
yeah,
is
yeah.
too open,
Sure.
so it's escaping more than it would on a
Yeah.
like more narrow
Sure.
glass.
I
But that's
gotcha.
okay. We can do it.
yeah,
It can be done.
we deal with the tools we've got. Reminds me a little of a like a Guinness pour, you know.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to wait for it to get about halfway up, and then you keep the pour going after that, and then kind of baby it all the way back up.
And so with lighter beers like Pilsners and lagers, you get this nice head of foam that you won't get with other beer types rather, right? Because there's all this protein meeting here in the head of foam or in the foam itself. Which is why like people are like, oh, why don't you put an IPA or a stout on the side pull faucet? It's like it just wouldn't work.
Yeah,
So
Don't make no sense.
the head on these is dissipating pretty quickly. Which is why we got to do this a little bit. But you see that? See how that's already...
Yeah. She thick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So while we continue to do this, let's get into the next thing, which is something that's probably just going to make me angry.
Okay. Uh-huh.
This Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk super fight
Musk V Zuck.
that's being advertised by Dana
White.
of all people, who's such a fucking... I can't fucking stand Dana White. Every time he even just shows up on my social media. At this point, I've like unfollowed his page. I don't want to see him. I know that I have to because I keep up with the UFC.
Sure.
Which is, it's like, it sucks so much. It's
Well,
like,
I mean, between like him posting, was it like recipes and the slap fight
the
stuff?
slap fight stuff is crazy. He's like fighting so much to continue to make that a thing. Where everyone's like, no one wants this.
We don't like.
No one wants this.
No one.
It's a spectacle. You're the only one fighting for this. We don't want this. Just pay your fighters. That's all. Just pay your fighters.
Yeah, like take the production money that you have allotted to the slap fight competitions.
That's about as best we're gonna.
That's
get
pretty
right
good.
there.
That's pretty good. I like that. And put that to your fighters.
Yeah.
How about that?
Now, I mean, and also for the people out there who go to bat for Dana White every time, like when you see in these comment sections, for instance, of people who are like, hey man, he's running a business, and if you were in his shoes, you'd do the same thing, and Dana White pays his guys, you guys just don't hit, blah 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 blah. You guys are the worst. You guys are just as big just as much a part of the problem as Dana is, as the UFC is, as the Zafty brothers or whatever they're called, whoever they are, not the directors. No,
The Zafty brothers.
No, there's these guys who are like the money. They're the money of the UFC who front.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're all part of the problem.
Oh, the Brazilian guys? Those guys behind the scenes?
Listen, so let's just talk about Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk.
Okay. Who do you think would win? First of all.
Okay, yeah, no, let's have a serious conversation about this.
Let's analyze.
Who would win right now if we're looking at, barrel-chested, pale, Pluto-looking,
dead-eyed,
slack-jawed Elon Musk, or twink, data
lizard man
Mark Zuckerberg. First of all, if you're just eyeballing, I think Elon has at least 60 pounds on him.
Yeah.
At least.
But do you think those are effective pounds is my question.
Yes. I mean, any pound is an effective pound in a fight, I think. If you're in a fight,
Sure.
real
Well,
fight,
that's why there's weight classes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can just manhandle someone if you're big enough.
I mean, he said it himself. He said it himself on a podcast that, like, he likes to do this move. I think he called it the walrus. No, I swear to God, dude, you got to look this up. This is him on a podcast. I don't remember what podcast. I wasn't watching it. That was just a clip I saw.
Was he smoking the reefer again?
Straight up sober, talking about what he does is his move called the walrus, where he just lays on you. And then I guess he was trying to explain this. He was trying to explain something to like a friend of his, like, weight class does matter, and like how big you are does matter. And he's like, if I just lay on you, what are you going to do? So he just laid on this person, was like, this is called the walrus. There's nothing charming or funny or quirky about this. Fuck Elon Musk. I don't like it at all. I hate the story. I hate everything about it. Okay. But I will say
he's got a point.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu, for instance, I mean, how many times have you, if you're a casual UFC fan, watched it and gone, oh, these guys are just laying on each other. Well, one guy who has 10 to 15 pounds on the other guy can just muscle his way to a victory by quote unquote laying on the other guy, which I don't believe,
No,
it's not actually what's happening, but it looks like that to the untrained eye. So as far as pounds are concerned and like their size, it doesn't make any sense. They shouldn't be fighting at all.
No.
They're just too, and I'm not saying like morally or socially they shouldn't. I'm saying like if we're looking at this from a straight up pound for pound, two guys going at it, they wouldn't be fighting. He's just way too big.
However,
I
mean, from everything I've heard, Zuck's pretty serious about his rolling.
They say Zuck is not,
BJJ
not,
guy.
not bad.
It's a BJJ guy.
Jiu-jits.
Yeah.
The kid can jits is what they say.
So, I mean, Musk, on the other hand, has said that he's like done some martial arts before.
I don't believe him.
I don't either.
Like
the stuff he said sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then again, he's a billionaire, so maybe he did.
Let's just say
they do weird stuff.
He doesn't look like he's done any martial arts. We'll just say that.
No.
He's a big guy. He's not fat or anything. I don't think but he just doesn't. He doesn't look like he's he's not in fighting shape. That's for damn sure. This all stems from Elon Musk's ego. That's the thing. The crazy thing about all
everything
of this,
he's done in the past 10 years has come from his ego.
right? And this spectacle that's happening right now is solely because somebody mentioned it online, and he responded to some Twitter account, some blue check Twitter account that probably had like 30 followers. Then he responded and was like, I'll meet me in the ring or in the cage or some stupid shit like that. It all stems from like just dumb shit like that. And what's crazy is, again, we're living in this timeline where this can now be national news.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being an innocuous tweet where Elon's just like, I'll see him in the octagon or whatever.
Right.
It becomes national news that one billionaire is challenging another billionaire to a cage fight. And then another, well, I wouldn't say a multi-millionaire, he jumps in and he's like, let's do it for charity. Like, that's the end-all, be-all of these ridiculous fucking fights. Like, if we do it and we just do it for charity, nobody can say that we're wrong and that it's ridiculous because we're doing it for charity.
Right. It's a good cause.
Listen, here's the thing. You want to do something for charity?
They
Just do for charity.
They could just give the money.
Just give the money. Why do you need to charge us $100 for the pay-per-view?
Because really, we're giving to charity.
Yeah, you're not doing shit for charity.
Yeah.
I'm donating $100, and you know what? I would rather donate that to any other charity and not pay the fucking pay-per-view for fuck that.
Sure, because you're paying the overhead, obviously, for everything that's going on.
Exactly.
For the event itself.
If I'm giving $100 to a charity, I'll just go straight to the Boys and
then
Girls Club and give them $100.
You get the spectacle of watching two non-trained fighters go at it for a couple of minutes.
Let's watch this exhibition fight that will last probably 10 minutes. Where they do something ridiculous.
They are pretty close in height, I will say that. Zuck's 5'9", and Elon is 6'1".
Yeah.
So,
he's probably 5'11", for being honest.
Probably.
He's reported as 6'1".
Reportedly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep taking shots at Elon. Fuck him.
Also, Zuck's definitely a billionaire, multi-billionaire, so.
No, I meant Dana as the multimillionaire.
Oh.
Yeah, Zuck's a billionaire for sure.
Yeah. Let's see Dana's net worth.
I don't think he's in the billions. I could be wrong, though.
I mean, take it with a grain of salt because all these celebritynetworth.com stuff is kind of bullshit. Yeah, no, it says he's worth $500 million.
Half a bill.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he's probably in that neighborhood.
Yeah. I'm sure he has some off-seas accounts that aren't being counted, divested, and such.
So if we're looking at this for real, I'd probably still give it to Zuckerberg because if he's actually training.
Yeah.
And, I mean, technique will trump pretty much everything else. At the end of the day, if they're not like, I mean, you need to know how to throw a punch too. It's like you
Sure.
can't just go in there and swing wildly. I mean, like if you don't know how to throw a punch, you don't
We've
know
seen
how to
that
fight.
from all of the like celebrity boxing matches and
Right,
stuff. They
right.
all look like shit.
They look like shit.
Even if they're like in good shape.
Yeah.
You know, like as soon as they actually start throwing or get hit, God forbid.
Yeah.
It's like it's so clear when you're so used to seeing professional fighters fight, seeing a non-professional bout. It's like these guys look like little kids.
Yeah, they look like children. I saw a clip of that YouTuber boxing thing that happened a couple months ago, and while I was disgusted with what I was watching, there was one bout between John Morrison, a professional wrestler, you may know as Johnny Nitro, or John Morrison. He wrestled as John Morrison, and the homie from Epic Mealtime.
Oh yeah,
Big dude with the beard.
Yeah.
Forgot his name. And Johnny Nitro's a professional wrestler, but he looked good. He didn't look good. He looked better than Harley. Yeah.
Harley Morenstein.
Yeah, that's right. He looked better than Harley,
Yeah.
and he knocked him out. He knocked him the fuck out,
Yeah.
it's like this whole spectacle of YouTuber boxing. I blame the Paul brothers.
Of course. You know,
They've ruined, and people want to talk about the sanctity of these sports and stuff, and it's just like, this shit is over.
There's no sanctity as long as there's money to be made.
Yeah, all that shit is done.
Hence the slap fighting competitions.
Exactly. That slap fight shit used to be some crazy shit that would pop up on your Instagram timeline every now and then. Some guy would get the shit slapped out of him, and you're like, Jesus Christ, people are doing this. But it was always like, oh, they're doing it in Russia, or something like.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, yeah, it makes sense over there. They're wrestling bears and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
the place they have like a 5-on-1 UFC fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
No,
Yeah.
of course they're
Yeah, yeah.
slapping each other as hard as they can.
Yeah.
And then Dana was like, that'd be cool.
Then he did to his wife.
Ah, nice. Fuck you, Dana. And so we've just got this thing where the people like Dana, who, it's the hypocrisy that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be so bothered if he didn't you ask him about one fight and he's like, that's ridiculous. We would never do anything like that. Sure. And then you bring this shit up and it's like, yeah, let's totally do that. That's not a gimmick fight. Yeah. This is awesome.
Well,
he's
been really loud about gimmick fights.
Yeah.
In the past.
Yeah.
Saying that there is a sanctity to the ring.
Right. You don't want to entertain Jake Paul or Logan Paul coming into the UFC arena and fighting one of your guys, which, by the way, I agree with.
Sure.
But then
don't be a hypocrite afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This shit is okay. Your BMF belt is okay. The
Right.
BMF belt is fucking ridiculous.
It's a WWE thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They even brought in a WWE guy to introduce it.
Exactly. Yeah.
They know how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
And like when people, I just don't understand. I feel like sometimes we're watching something that other people aren't watching. We're like, how can you see the same shit and be like,
well, this is totally different.
Yeah, it's
totally different.
It's completely this. It's so God. It's so frustrating when people just to see.
No, the bottom line is people will have whatever standards they want until they can make a buck on it, or until they're genuinely interested in seeing the fight. You know, if they're a fan of Elon Musk or they're a fan of Mark Zuckerberg, I get the feeling most of these people who are like gung ho for this fight are Musk bros.
It's crazy to say that you're a fan of either one of these people. To be a fan,
right? But you know the blue check,
root for them.
The blue check marks avalanche upon us. But yeah, no, I mean, I just feel like until it's somebody you are a fan of or idolize in a way, it's like, yeah, oh, this thing sucks.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Right.
This could be interesting. This is a different standard.
But my thing is, I don't have a problem with that. I only have a problem with you pretending like the other shit isn't okay. You know what I mean? Like, if Dana White was like, yo, let's do it all, I'd be like, well, that kind of sucks, but whatever. at least
Yeah.
he's being
it wouldn't-
consistent.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hypocritical.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hypocritical at that point.
I don't like you saying the other shit is a spectacle and the other stuff is a gimmick, and then this shit is okay.
Right.
Like, but whatever. Fuck Dana White.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
At the end of the day, and also this fight's not gonna happen.
No. It definitely. I would bet somebody a large sum of money that this fight is not going to happen.
Never in a million years.
It's not gonna.
No.
They'll never do it.
And the other thing was there was some fighter on I think he was on Ariel Hawani's show, and he was talking about how he doesn't want to see two leaders of this country going at it. And everybody balked at the idea that these two guys, because they're billionaires, are leaders in this country. But guess what, buddy? The US of A, as it stands in 2023, is led by the billionaires.
Sure,
I
yeah.
don't know why you think that is some kind of conspiracy.
Wait, in 2023?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Forever. But
Yeah.
No more time in history has it been more obvious that
Yeah.
the reason that industries move and politics change is
well,
because of
and social media barons. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like these are the Hearsts of our time.
Right. Yeah.
Like they are the guys in control of the narrative in our country.
Exactly. So you're telling me that the guy who is, again, the richest person on the planet, because he got his title back somehow, the Tesla stock went up. He got his title back, and he's also the guy who runs the information, like the place where people used to get all of their news,
Sure. Yeah.
pop culture, everything. He runs that also. You're telling me he's not a leader of this country? He is
Absolutely.
definitely a mover and shaker
Yeah.
of the United States. So I agree with him.
Yeah.
I agree with this fighter. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. But I agree with him. Like, it would be really disappointing to see these two guys go into the cage and have even an exhibition. Y'all need to be doing more important shit. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and the people who worship these people have put them up on these pedestals as these people who are going to lead us into the future, the people who are going to guide the way into what the next 10, 15, 20, 50, what the next century of the world is going to look like. Mark Zuckerberg and his metaverse is what he thinks the future holds. And we're going to put a pause on that stuff so these guys can go into the cage.
They can go.
I mean, give me a fucking break.
Yeah, no, it's stupid.
I hate every second of it.
Stupid.
I hate
It's
everybody involved,
It's very dumb.
and it makes me sad.
Yeah,
It just makes me sad. It just bums me the fuck out.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
Also, Zuck and 3. 10-8 Zuck.
Would we get it would be a 3-rounder, right? It wouldn't be a 5. They wouldn't do
No
championship
way.
rounds.
No way. I don't even think it goes 3 rounds. I think it goes 2 rounds, like the Ultimate Fighter. I think they do 2 rounds.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Zuck gets him in an armbar pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's all she wrote.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope he breaks it. Anyway, we got one more thing. What was the last thing we were talking about? Final Fantasy? Zuck versus Musk? There was something else. I should have wrote it down.
I should have wrote it down.
Fuck. I really don't remember, man.
I don't know. I think that's all we have.
I think that's all we got.
That's all we got.
Yeah. Oh, MILF Manor.
All right.
I don't need to do this.
I was trying to get us to go past that.
I don't need to do this.
I mean, what were you gonna say about what like grand revelations happened?
I don't have the real.
At you watching MILF Manor in a bar.
The only thing the only revelation I had really is that these reality TV shows in 2023, they've been going on for so long that they can only do things to up the ante.
Yeah.
And they've gotten so ridiculous to the point that they're beyond. I mean, they've been beyond reality for years, but they're beyond even the faintest idea of reality.
Sure.
So these people are they're not put on an island. They're transported to another planet, right? Where the rules aren't the rules anymore. There's no rules.
Yeah.
And you get 18, 20 people together to just like they become different. They're not humans anymore. Mm-hmm. Does this make sense? Like when you're watching it almost like these people aren't real.
Yeah.
This is not a thing that human beings do to each other.
I often point out when I'm forced to watch reality TV, thanks to Sherry.
Yeah.
I'm able to scope out the plants, the actors within this entire thing.
Right.
Because you can just tell. There's
Right.
some certain people that are way over the top that, you know, the Bachelorette always ends up picking, of course, to continue on because they stir up the drama. You know, the producer's in her ear saying, hey, listen, I know you don't like this guy because he's really weird. You got to keep him.
You got to keep him on. I mean, he's interesting.
Right.
We need to see more of him.
Like the failed actors and stuff who are in here just to like get their face out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's so clear that like so much of this is clearly manufactured.
Oh, I mean, MILF Manor has a couple of women who are like that, who are clearly there to stir up drama.
Looking for a spinoff.
Yeah. Oh, there's one lady who is definitely getting a spinoff. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
She shows up. I mean, first episode, you're like, oh, that's the one right there.
Yeah.
That's I Love New York. That's you know, that's the one who's getting the spinoff.
Flavor of Love.
I'll just give you one bit, and then we can just be off of this thing.
Okay.
There's a moment in the show where, and also shout out to Kelsey, who was so enthusiastic about me watching this show. And then we ended up watching. We went out to GB's together, and they turned it on, and he was like, "This is the fucking show that I've been telling you." And I kept telling him, like, "There's no way I go home and watch this show. I'm just not gonna do it. You don't know me at all. I would never." So he finally got me to watch it somehow by being at this bar. Anyway,
you were a captive audience.
I mean, I was enthralled by what I was seeing. Captive and captivated.
Yeah.
There's a bit in the first episode where they go, we're going to put our deepest, darkest secrets on this wall. And then we want our kids and our mother. So it was like both. It was back and forth.
Okay,
Everybody put their deepest, darkest secret on the wall.
Sure.
And then the kids and the sons had to figure out whose deepest, darkest secret it was.
Okay.
Some of them were kind of innocuous. Some of them were really gross. Like one was like, I got pink eye from eating ass. And it was like, bro, you couldn't think of a different secret? Like that's your deepest, darkest secret?
Yeah.
You could just think of a different one?
Sure.
One of them, one of them was like, I had a 7-woman orgy, which I'm like, no, you didn't. I don't believe you. But that's fine. You want to lie on reality TV?
Yeah,
you want to lie on this TV show? Sure, go ahead. One of them was, I fucked my son's best friend. And when the kid finds out, it's like the veil gets lifted. This kid has like a nervous breakdown.
Oh, God.
It's so weird, off-putting, and sad.
Fantastic TV.
He gets in the pool naked. He takes his trunks off and he's just floating around the pool because he just can't handle the information.
He becomes an embryo again. He reverts to fetus.
Bro, it is so you're watching it like
rebirth me, please.
Gobsmacked. You're just like jaw on the floor like, oh my God, who would do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And then why would you admit it on TV?
Yeah, no.
And that's what I'm talking about. That is the best example I can think of where like they go to another planet and they don't act like humans anymore.
Yeah.
Because a real human being would
never
do that. First of all, they wouldn't do that to their son. But second of all, they wouldn't ever admit it.
Yeah.
And then third of all, they would never admit it in public on a TV show.
To the world.
So it just reinforced why I don't like reality TV shows, why I will never sit down and watch one. Are you hearing me? Are you listening to me? I fucking hate them with a passion. I didn't like it. I thought it was horrendous. Every second my eyes were on the TV, I was like, why is this happening? I cannot believe people agreed to do this.
Yeah.
It makes me angry to watch this shit. I can't believe it's real. I can't believe
you've done this.
I can't believe it's still going. Like, it made sense in the 90s. Reality TV shows made sense in the 90s because it was an alternative to the shit that you was watching. Sitcoms were like going out of style. There was nothing. There was
Early
like
2000s.
sports, and there was nothing else. Early 2000s, yeah. And there was nothing really else going on. And then reality TV shows start, and you're like, oh, human drama.
Yeah.
I can watch real people go through real shit. Like, if somebody slapped me, this is how I would react.
Yeah.
And then you see somebody reacting that way, and you're like, God, that's crazy. I'm seeing real people.
Yeah.
And very quickly, it devolved into the like most heinous fucking.
I blame Real World and I blame Survivor.
Yeah.
I think those were the two big ones.
Big Brother.
Big Brother. Yeah. Oh yeah.
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 But yeah, those three, I think, Survivor, Real World, and Big Brother.
Yeah.
Are the ones that really ruined it.
Yeah.
And they came about really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as reality TV became a thing.
Like,
they were
oh,
like,
this
now
is
we're
going to be huge.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's my take.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
All right.
Good to know.
All right. Okay. We got two things before we can get out of here, and you know what they are. So we're going to start with the most important thing. Well, second most important thing. I think the review is probably the most important. But
Who's to say?
who's to say? Not me, not you, not you, not you.
Not you.
It is time for the cheers of the week. So, Obi, tell me, what's your cheers?
My cheers of the week goes to Street Fighter the movie.
Of course.
I hadn't seen this movie, honestly, since I was a kid. On a whim, bought it on Blu-ray off of Amazon because it was cheap and the box art looked awesome.
Yeah.
And I rewatching it again with fresh adult eyes. I think it is a mistaken classic of parody.
Yeah.
It is such a. If you can watch it in the way that you watch The Room,
Right.
I think you will see it with brand new eyes. And even beyond that, though, I think I read somewhere, and this may have tainted my viewing, but I read somewhere that Street Fighter the movie is actually like over the top and tongue in cheek on purpose. And in some ways, I see that with like the character of Zangief.
Yeah.
And obviously, Raul Julia's entire performance is way over the top. And they knew what they were doing with that, right?
Yeah. Well, he knew.
He knew. He at least knew. But
Still one of the great performances. Like, unironically, one of the great performances.
Raul Julia deserves all of his flowers.
Yeah.
I mean, most well known, obviously, from the Addams Family movies. But a fantastic actor.
Yeah. Taken from us way too soon.
Way too soon.
He man, what he would have and could have done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He could have been I mean, he already was, but he could have done so much more as a character actor.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
But that being said, great performance by him. And as long as you're not going into it expecting a good Street Fighter movie, I think you'll be satisfied. Like it's just a fun, cheesy 90s romp. And sure, plot doesn't make sense. Sure, the script is
all over.
The script is awful. There are some performances. I'm sorry, Kylie Minogue, you're not good at acting.
No,
but it's fun. It's a good time. It's a really good time, and I think, especially if you're from our generation back in the day and you have some nostalgia for it, I highly recommend you go back and rewatch it, just for funsies. It's nothing like deep, but I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
So it surprisingly holds up in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah.
with those nostalgia glasses on.
Yeah.
So.
No. Yeah. I think because when we were kids, when you're a kid watching it, it's awesome. Then you become like a young adult and you're like, that movie sucks, because you take it so seriously. And you're like, it's not a good Street Fighter movie. Then you become like an older adult, and you're like, this movie fucking rocks.
Yeah. No, it really is a lot of fun. And in a way, I think it's really up there with Mortal Kombat for me, because Mortal Kombat actually works as a movie and is, good for what it is.
Yeah.
But Street Fighter it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
And I think it deserves, its place upon the 90s martial arts cheesy movie pantheon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. My cheers of the week is going to... I don't want to blanket statement this and say, like, nerd culture as a whole, but the idea of, like... I was thinking about this while playing Jedi Survivor and then playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Very
Like,
nerdy.
Very nerdy.
Yeah.
And this, like, the internal
Sci-fi and
gestation
fantasy.
of, like... Yeah.
Together.
Just that whole idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll explain.
Okay.
I've probably made note on this show multiple times how I don't get into like knights and fucking dragons and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
Unless it's like really, really good.
It took you a long time to get into Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it did. I didn't start watching that show until season 6.
Yeah.
And then, that was...
You speed ran it.
Yeah, I fucking
Yeah.
flew through it and then caught up just in time for it to fucking suck. So...
It waited for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that I'm like really, 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 really into. Star Wars being one of them.
Sure.
That like looked at from a certain lens, like you're like, oh, how can you be so against all this other stuff, and then be so nerdy about this thing, which is just like one step removed from this thing. Like
Sure,
they are knights. They're just knights in space. They're called Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
They're knights in space with
True.
laser swords,
True.
and they're wizards. And they have weird names for things, and George Lucas just farts out names for creatures and cities and planets. It all doesn't really make a lot of sense, and for some reason, I can't get enough. And like this idea, like this thing of like you can be so nerdy about this thing and not so nerdy about this thing, or nerdy about that thing, hate this thing,
despise another thing. Yeah.
I love that about this culture.
Sure.
I love that about being that so into things.
Yeah. We should say also there, not to cut you off, there's that even within those subcultures.
Right, for sure.
So like people who love Trek but hate Star Wars.
Right.
Or people who love Lord of the Rings but hate Game of Thrones.
Right. Right.
Like it goes deep.
Yeah. Yes. And I was thinking about it a lot while trying to understand myself, doing a deep dive on myself, trying to understand why knights and dragons and kingdoms and all that kind of like Middle Earth lore doesn't speak to me, but stuff like Star Wars and like comic books and stuff like that does speak to me.
Yeah.
And I know why. People aren't really gonna like the answer, but I think I know why.
Okay.
So I think that shit is corny.
All right.
And I really that's really like the end all be all of like Jedis are cool. They're monks. They have a code. They wear cool hood. Like just on the surface, they're cooler. Their swords are better.
Sure.
Like laser swords are just better than big broadswords. They're better.
I mean, knights are cool though.
Knights aren't cool though. They're not, because they serve a king.
Clive looks awesome.
Clive looks awesome. Clive's not a knight though.
I guess.
Clive is like a rogue.
Sure.
Clive's
but that's
cool.
part of that universe.
Yeah, but rogue knights are dope.
Okay.
Knights of like a kingdom, fucking, they're nerds.
Well, then you don't like samurai.
No, that's different. That's different. Because samurais look cool.
You
as
only
shit.
like Ronin then.
No, samurais look cool.
Okay.
See, and this is just a personal taste thing,
Sure,
right?
sure,
Because
sure,
I'm
sure,
sure
sure.
there are people out there who think like knight armor looks cool.
It does.
I don't think so.
It does.
I don't think so.
All right.
I think they look big and bulky and dumb, and I think in a real fight you just fucking kick them over, and they're like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. Samurais, they got masks that make them look like monsters, and they've got decorative. Different, like you can customize like a fucking video game. You can customize the colors and shit. And at the end of the day, it's a Japanese-based martial art, which obviously I'm biased to. So there's that thing. which I know a lot of this is just my own personal biases. I get that.
That's all it is, yeah.
But that's all it is.
Yeah. Well, and you know, obviously Star Wars is more based in like Japanese lore.
So there's that too.
Yeah.
Even when they put on like Clone Wars era armor, they look like samurai. They don't look like knights. They are wearing their traditional Jedi robes and then armor on top of that, which is what a samurai would do, right? So it's a lot of that stuff, and then you know, they're just cooler to me. Knights, you know, regular knights, they serve a king, and the king is always like some pompous fucking asshole, and they're always like, my liege, and it's like, fuck that. Fucking sucks.
Okay.
The Jedi serve an order, and the order serves the Force, and the Force is the universe that controls all things.
Yeah, but the
so
Jedi were pompous dorks, though.
Yes, they were, and they were flawed.
And it was their downfall.
And it's interesting to watch these pompous fucking occult members, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's why black outfit Luke is the coolest.
1,000,000%.
Because he's like the reformed version of that.
Yeah.
Which is why it sucks so bad in the recent trilogy that he just falls flat on his face.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the guy that's like, no, I learned from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, he's supposed to know better.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Don't get me
and
started.
We could do a whole other episode on this stuff.
Steve!
This is my cheers. My cheers is to this.
Okay.
This.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Fair enough.
It's a beautiful thing when it's a fun debate about, you know, being nerds and nerding out on stuff.
Yeah.
So, that's my cheers.
All right.
All right?
I dig it.
All right. We got one last thing, and you know what it is. It's the review of this brewski. So, the Bierstadt... Oops, sorry. The Bierstadt.
Bierstadt.
Just the Bierstadt out of Denver.
It's the slow pull pills.
Slow pour pills.
Slow pour
Slow
pills.
pour pills.
Excuse me.
From Bierstadt.
Yes. Out of Denver.
Obi, what'd you think?
I'm so glad you asked. It's a 6 out of 6 Ballcast for me, buddy.
Whoa, 6 out of 6. He did it. He went there. He didn't even fucking prep me. Why wasn't even warned about this?
No. I mean, it's so exactly what it's supposed to be. You know, it's crispy. It's absolutely smashable, but it has just enough flavor to make it worth your while to get through one of them. You know, the slow pour of it. It's a fun addition to the drinking experience. Again, if you have it fresh, it really sends it over the top on that. And I was like, again, I can't say it for this exact pour, but when I had it at a la carte, the foam was actually like warm.
Yeah.
And the beer was cold. And that just like, I was like, I didn't know beer could do that. Like, it was transformative in a way. And my socks blowneth off. You know, I tend to be more of a bitter beer guy, and it has just enough bitter notes for me. It being a Pils, light, tasty. It's been really hot in Florida lately. I would absolutely crush another, 2 of these easily. So, yeah, I mean, it does everything it's supposed to in my books. I can't find faults in it. That's why it's a 6 out of 6.
I mean, when you put it that way, what do you think, Celine?
She just wants chicken.
I mean, I can't disagree.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about what score I was going to give it.
Yeah.
Really just go off gut reaction. But I think I don't know. I think I got to go with you. I think I got to do it. I think we got to give it a unanimous 6 out of 6.
6
I
out
think
of 6.
so.
I love it.
I think so. I honestly, it's fantastic. I can't find any fault in it.
Yeah.
I wish that I had the wherewithal to have poured a regular beer and compared the slow pour, because a slow pour does change the texture of the beer. It changes the flavor of the beer. It does. It changes the chemical makeup of it.
Yeah.
So I wish that I had just done both. I don't know why I didn't. I should have known better.
Well, you don't want to have one of them a lesser beer, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, everything you said was right. It's just a perfect lager.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's clean. There's enough flavor there to be worth your while. 6 out of 6.
Love it.
All right, you get out of here.
Go on.
Clink these babies together.
Yeah.
You think we got it?
I know we got it.
Well, then let's get the fuck out of here. This has been the One Beer In podcast for myself, Marco Dupa, for Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
Use the force.
Thank you guys for listening. Drink delicious beer and have yourself a beautiful evening.
We love you.